Hello and welcome to Pyramid Edutech. We already have seen a lot of CSS. This is our 12th video of CSS. In this video, we can talk about something called transition and transform in CSS. So last class we have seen something called keyframes, animations, how we use some animations and all. So now let's do some coding and understand what is a transition and transform in CSS. So let's go with a container. Okay, inside this container I'm just creating a box here. Okay, just write a box here. Okay, so if I come here I can see a box. Alright, so I just create a box. For that I have to go with this CSS part. First just have to go with the dot box. Okay, okay, let's go with the box. Okay, let's go at display. I just show you see, I want to show you one thing, that if I come here, you can see a box here. Okay, let me first create about height and width. Let me go with a height of 100 pixels. Okay, I'm just creating a small box, and let's go with a width of 100 pixels. Okay, and let me give some background color. Background color, you can give any color. If I save this, now you can see I have a box. I want this box. I want this box to be center of this box. So for centering for centering any element, you have to write 3 lines of code. First, display flex. Again, you have to write something called justify content center, and then you have to write something called align items center. Now if I save this, you will see that this box is in the center. So centering a div, it just you have to write 3 lines of code: display flex, align item center, justify content center. The align item center will center in y axis and justify contents will center in x axis, and with both it will center the div. Just 3 lines of codes. Alright, the same thing you can do with the container also. If I write dot container, alright, in this container I just give a height of, let's go with 100 VH of height. Okay, and if I write something called display flex, justify content center. Okay, and I write something called align items center. Now you can see that it is in center, because I have taken whole width of a height of 100 VH, and that I have just from x axis and y axis I centered the div. This is just 3 lines of codes and you can center the div. So today we understood how we can center the div. Now we just have to understand about something called transition. Okay, so first in transition, the first thing that you will know about transition property. So with whom you want to give some transition. Okay, so okay, before doing the transition, I just comment this for now. I just write something called dot box. Okay, and when I hover over the box, okay, what I just do is I just background color I make it red. Okay, so you can see that, okay, when I hover over it, background become red. You can see, yeah. So now you can see that it is taking it directly. Okay, you can see that, okay, it is changing the color, but it doesn't look that good. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I just write something called transition property, and I'm writing background color. Okay, so I'm giving a transition property to my background color. Okay, and just remember, if I am writing transition property inside this box, only this box will take this property. Okay, only this background color will take this property. And let me go with a transition duration. Okay, how much duration I want to transition to happen. Okay, let's go with 2 seconds, means I want 2 seconds to happen all these things. Okay, now you can see that when I hover over it, now it looks good. You can see 2 seconds, it takes 2 seconds to work. And if you want to decrease, you can write something called 1 second here. And if I save this, now you can see that it will take 1 second. Now it looks good. It directly won't hover. Okay, directly won't change. It takes some time and change it. Just like you can do any sort of thing. Okay, So I can write something called font size also. Okay, so I just write here font size, let's go with 1.3 rem. Okay, so if I hover over, okay, you can see that it directly changing. So I can write same thing, but with the font size. Now if I save this, now you will see that, okay, the font size takes 1 second to, and if I write something called instead of 1, if I write 0.1 second, okay, now you will see, yeah, you can see the increase and decrease of size. So this is how you use transition property. There are more transition property. You can see that transition. You can see transition timing function. We already have seen ease in, out. That slow to fast, fast to slow. Transition delay, we already know. Delay means how much time after that you want that transition to happen. So these are 5 or 6 properties of transitions. Okay, so just play with it. Okay, just play with it. Suppose there is a something called okay. If I want that transition, I just remove this. I want transition. I don't want to write again and again this. Okay, transition property, background, font. I don't want to write everything. Okay, so directly I can write something called all. If I write all, this means all of the properties will happen. Okay, so see, now the same thing will happen. I don't have to write every sort of code. I can write anything. Okay, I can write something called font weight. Okay, 900. I can write something called let's go with a color. Okay, I go with the color. Okay, let's go color with a white. Okay, you can write anything, any sort of thing. Okay, so save this. Instead of 0.1, I just write 0.7 seconds. Okay, and now if I come here, you can see that all of the properties, you can see all of the properties have been applied in this. It looks much prettier now. So you understood, you can do any sort of thing. Okay, so you just have to write transition and just do it like this. So what I want to tell you, there is a shortcut property also. Okay, instead of writing all these things, you just write transition, okay, and just write all. Okay, and how much duration you want, let's go with 1 second. Okay, you can give ease in, ease out, whatever you want. Okay, ease in, ease out, whatever you want. And you can go with the delay also. I just write 0.3 second of delay. If I save this, same property will be applied after 0.3 seconds. Okay, after 0.3 seconds, you can see that. So this is a shortcut of writing transition. So this is all about your transition. You just play with it all. So now let's go with something called transform property. So after transition, you can see about something called transform. Okay, so I write some same thing. Okay, we already have seen the transition. So instead of this hovering and doing all these things, I will use something called transform here. Okay, I'll just write something called transform. Okay, so in transform I can write something called rotate. Okay, and I can rotate it, let's go with 45 degree. Okay, first let me remove this transition for now so that I can show you. If I don't have this transition and I just hover over it, what will happen? You can see I have rotated this to 45 degree. Okay, instead of 45, if I write something called 90 degree. Okay, you will see that 90 degree of turn it will take. Okay, you can see 90 degree of turn, but you can't see that. Why? Because I have removed this transition property. But if I remove if I take this transition property, okay, I just remove the delay for now, delay and this. I don't want delay and I don't want this ease in. Okay, I remove this, and now if I save this, if I do, okay, now you can see this. Okay, so this is how you use your transform. Okay, if I write instead of 90, if I write something called 360, see what will happen. 360 degree, it will rotate. Okay, it will fully rotate. You can see that. Okay, if I write instead of rotate, if I write something called skew. Okay, if I write something called skew, No, you will know, yeah, I know, because 360 which is taking a whole bunch of space. I just write 45 degree for now. You will understand what is a skew. Okay, if I go, yeah, you can see that it is skewing. Okay, it is skewing for 45 degree. You can see that. So there is one more thing that you can use. You can use something called trans. If I write instead of, okay, if I just comment this value for now, I write something called transform, and you can write something called a scale here. Okay, a scale. If I write something called 2, so what will happen? It will increase its twice to twice. You can see that. Okay, it is twice. It is increasing. So you have seen multiple places when you hover over any place. Okay, it is increased. Okay, it is increased to twice of its size. Yeah, something like Looney Tunes, cartoon. Okay, you have seen something called Cartoon Network. So there are people. Okay, network. Okay, you have seen that in Cartoon Network, some cartoons come up. Here Bugs Bunny is there, and just Bugs Bunny start like looking like this. So this is just a thing that I want to show you. Leave this for now. So you can see this. So I hope you understood about transform properties. There are multiple transform properties. There I can show you. Okay, I just comment this value for now. What I can write something called transform, same transform. Okay, so I can write translate here. Okay, if I write something called translate, and if I write translate x here, so it will translate x. I just write 120 pixels. If I save this, you will see that if I hover over it, it translates to 120 pixels in x. Translate is move, it shifted 120 pixels. So same thing I can do with y also. So instead of x, I write something called y here, and 120 instead of 120, let's go with 50. I don't want to go outside of it. So you can see this. It's coming out, it's coming down. So you can think that why x is not taking. X is not taking just because I just tell you it is overwriting. If you want x and y both to happen, na, so you simply have to write. I just comment both of them for now, because it will be overwritten. Don't worry about this. But I write something called transform, and I write translate here. Okay, I write translate. And instead of x and y, I just write 120 pixels. That thing we already have written, and 50 pixels. So now it will first will be your x value, and second will be your y value. Now you will see that both will be applied. Yeah. So from x this side and from y this side. Okay. So what if I write something called 250 pixels? So it will come out of a screen. Okay, you can see this. Yeah, it has gone outside of the screen. So this is how you're gonna play with your transform value. So I hope you understood about translate, transform, transition, every sort of properties. So you just go through it once and just play by it, and you will understand each and every concept of it. If you find any difficulty, you can ask in comments, or you can ask in the live class. And if you want to know more about it, just read the documentation. Just go through the documentation, you will know much more about it. But for my view, I think this is, if you do this much of thing, this is enough when you create websites and all. This will give some dynamic things to your, not dynamic things, this will give some good looking things to your modern looking website. So I hope you understand all the concepts. Just go through it once. If you have doubt, just comment me down.